Good afternoon. It's just gone 5 o'clock. You listen to Vision Australia Radio 1197 on your AM dial. You can check out our website, varadio.org. And if you've got a digital radio, find us there as well. Look for VA Radio. Peter Greco, welcome you to LeisureLink. On the program today, we'll speak to Steve Plain, who's just completed the 7 in 4 project. Well, it's great earlier this year to catch up with Steve Plain, who was about to take up the the project 7 in 4, climbing 7 peaks in 4 months. It's great to say Stephen is home, and even better to say he's on the line. Steve, welcome.
G'day, Peter. How are you?
Pretty good. More importantly, how are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Been home for about 2 weeks now, so the body was pretty fatigued and battered when I got back, but 2 weeks back at home has been wonderful.
One of the incredible things about what you've done, of course, is the fact that you've done 7 peaks, or actually 8, in 4 months, but also the amount of travel that you've done between times. How's that impacted upon your body?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, to be honest. So what we did was the 7 summits of the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents, starting in Antarctica back in January, and we just finished on Everest 2 weeks ago. The travel, some of the long-haul flights we were doing, some of them were sort of 50 hours plus travel time between destinations, and just to try and stay fit and healthy and keep everything moving while doing that was incredibly tough.
What do you do to sort of keep the body moving, as you say, because it'll be pretty easy to seize up?
Yeah, I guess there's lots of little tricks and tips on flights, and to try and, particularly sort of when you're coming off the mountain, and often muscles are sore and things anyway, which doesn't help the sitting down for long periods of time. But I guess when I'm on a flight, just keep hydrated, get up and walk around frequently. But there's a limit that you can do when you're in these economy flights.
Now, of course, climbing peaks, so was altitude sickness a problem at any time?
Thankfully, for myself and my climbing partner, John Gupta, we never had any issues with acclimatisation. We obviously, there's sort of guidelines and for recommended altitude ascent gains per day and how to acclimatise. So initially, for the first few climbs, took it relatively slowly and acclimatised as we went. And I think doing all the climbs back to back actually helped in a sense that we carry the altitude acclimatisation over from one hill to the other, so we weren't having to sort of re-acclimatise every time.
Now, as I said, we spoke to you in January just before you left, literally a couple of days before you left. Tell us chronologically the order in which you did the peaks and rough sort of timelines as to when you got to the top and then when the next one came along.
Yes, the first peaks being sort of lower and relatively easier, we pushed through pretty quick. So the first one was Vincent in Antarctica, which we summited on the 16th of January. From there, we went straight back up to Argentina, where we climbed Aconcagua, the highest in South America, and summited on the 28th of January. So that was then just 12 days after.
Yeah.
From there, we went round to Tanzania and summited Kilimanjaro on the 14th of February.
So that's 3 in less than a month.
That's 3 in less than a month. Then we went straight to West Papua in province of Indonesia and climbed Carsten's Pyramid, and that was on the, I'm just trying to think, that was late February by that stage.
Yeah.
And then we actually came straight back to Australia and climbed Kosciuszko as well, where we did a fundraising event with Rotary, taking kids in wheelchairs to the top of Kosciuszko, which was an incredible event to be part of.
Actually, we spoke to you then. That was back in early March, wasn't it, when we spoke to you, when you spent a few hours literally in Australia?
That's right.
Yeah.
That was the 3rd of March. Then we went straight from there to the first half was Southern Hemisphere, so it was summer, so it was warmer times. And then we went straight to the Northern Hemisphere, still in winter up there, so went to Russia and climbed Elbrus, and that was, just trying to think, that was sort of the 2nd week of March.
Mm.
And then from there we went to Alaska, which was probably the hardest climb of them all, climbing Denali, right up in Alaska at the end of winter, out of season. We were the only ones on the hill, had severe temperatures down to minus 45.
Wow.
Copped some bad storms, couldn't get out of the tent for 3 days.
Sure.
We summited that on the 3rd of April, and then we finished off on Everest summiting on the 14th of May.
Mm. So Everest, in a sense, was the longest break between, but of course that would be the highest peak, so understandably so. You talked about some of the tips to keep yourself moving between climbs, and also the routes that you took to get there. So you obviously did a lot of research to plan this.
Yes, I guess for myself it's been a couple of years in the preparation. both physical training at home, doing practice expeditions, and then the actual planning and preparation, which my climbing partner John Gupta helped out enormously with that, and he's actually a professional mountain guide, so to have his assistance throughout this journey was invaluable.
Now, again, for those that might have missed our chat early on, you had a very serious accident back in 2014?
Yeah, that's right. 13th of December 2014, I think it was. Broke my neck in a very poor attempt at body surfing over at a beach in Western Australia at Cottesloe Beach, and fractured 3 vertebrae in my neck and contorted spinal cord and ruptured disc and a lot of other complications. So it was very challenging times at that point, but Project 74, doing the 7 summits, was sort of found at that point in time I needed something to focus on, something to work towards to drive me through my recovery and rehab. And so setting my sights on the 7 summits and giving myself a timeline to work towards for that was, I found invaluable as throughout my own rehab.
And of course you did it for a couple of causes which are literally very close to your heart.
Absolutely. So and the support we've had in donations so far has been amazing. We're keeping that open for a little bit longer.
Okay.
That's been for Surf Life Saving Western Australia, to give back to the organisation, the volunteer surf lifesavers who actually rescued me and pulled me out of the water the day of my accident, and also to Spinal Cure Australia, who are doing some incredible work to actually try and find a cure for paralysis.
Now, as you mentioned, in Canberra you had some kids on board. You went to Kosciuszko. Have you had a chance to speak to many other groups in your times, or have you just been too busy? Because I'm just thinking in terms of getting the message out there, what your story and how remarkable it is.
We've had, throughout the whole journey, the people we've met along the way have been incredible. I think that's part of the beauty of doing this project, is the locations that you get to travel to and just the variety of cultures and people. In terms of getting the message out there, something which was incredibly valuable was we had 10 participants come and do an Everest Base Camp trek with us while I was actually up on Everest, all supporting the cause and fundraising as well. And so that was fantastic. And they were all wearing Project 74 shirts with the
fantastic
logos on the back, and that attracted a lot of attention. And so it was quite interesting. A lot of people up and down the Everest Valley at that stage had seen our trekking group in the shirts, and really helped raise the profile.
Yeah. You talked about Alaska in a sense being the toughest. Were there any really scary moments?
I wouldn't sort of say really scary, but it was just incredibly tough in that Alaska at that time of year were the first ones on the mountains at this year. It was out of season. We had to be fully self-supported, and for 17 days, for that one we actually had 2 other friends accompany us, so we had a small team of 4. So for 17 days we were the only ones on the mountain, and we met with rangers before we went in to get our park permits, and they literally told us that normal rescue services weren't operational here. So if we went in, we had to get ourselves back out. There was no other way of coming out. Yeah. And so it was definitely incredibly challenging, and we, halfway through, got hit by a bad storm, and I said we couldn't get out of tents for 3 days, and it was forecast the storm to continue for another week at least, and there was a very narrow weather window of sort of 24 hours where we didn't have time to proceed up to the normal high camps and then go for the summit, so we had to opt and push to the summit from one of the lower camps, which resulted in a 20-hour summit day. So we're on the summit at, it was 9 p.m, which was incredibly late, and descended right throughout the night in minus 40-degree temperatures, and didn't get back to the tent till 5 a.m. So it was incredibly tough circumstances.
What was the most satisfying? I'm thinking, was it when you got to the top of Mount Everest? Because we spoke to your sister Tanya, you've done a great job keeping us informed. But I guess one of the things is, particularly with a climb like Everest, things happen coming down as well as just getting to the top. So when was your sort of celebratory moment?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of the accidents do happen on the way down when people are more tired, more fatigued, often getting later in the day, and starting to relax a bit more. Yeah. Personally, I never sort of really celebrate on the summits, and knowing that the summit is just halfway. For me, probably the moment which I most enjoyed was getting back to camp after our summit push on Denali, and we always knew Denali was going to be the toughest of them all. So once we'd done that, we knew we were in pretty good shape to achieve the 7 summits and the world record for that.
Denali
getting to Everest was actually probably a little bit bittersweet in terms of, yes, we'd summited and achieved the record, but also knowing that the incredible journey was coming to an end.
Okay. Now, Denali isn't quite as well known as Everest in terms of peaks. What about the Guinness Book of Records then? Have you got sort of any news as to how that is going or how that will go?
I put in an application to notify them of the world record attempt before I left, and so they accepted it as a world record attempt. Now I need to actually go through and do my homework and compile all the evidence they require to actually officially award the world record.
Oh, good luck with that. Now, as you mentioned, did it for two great causes, surf life saving in WA and spinal cure. People can still contribute to it. You've had a good response, but there's always room for another dollar, and who knows, that next dollar could, particularly with spinal cure, be the one that cracks the code, as it were. Yeah, absolutely. The work the spinal cure are doing is incredible, and just this week I was actually out visiting a young kid who is over at Westmead Hospital after breaking his neck on a trampoline, and he's facing challenges, facing being a quadriplegic at the moment, and sort of spending time with these kids and what they're going through. It really sort of highlights and rams home the importance of the work which Spinal Cure are doing, which could potentially help make a significant difference to the lives of everyone, all Australians living with spinal cord injuries. So I think it's a wonderful cause, and the work they're doing is fantastic, so I would encourage everyone to support that. Yeah, and who knows, maybe even export opportunities when they break through that they do comes through. So the website where people can contribute? That is www.project7in4.com, the numerals 7 and 4, so 7 in 4. And on there, there's a link there's a tab for giving back, and a link to the donations from there. Now, Steve, I know you've just been back a few days. Have you got anything up your sleeve next trick? There's always something, and I think for myself, I think the hardest part is actually coming home from expeditions like this. There's such a long build-up process, and then being away, and there's sort of a bit of a coming down period when getting back home. For myself, definitely there'll be a bit more climbing on the horizon. No concrete plans just yet, but hopefully something within the next year, potentially back to the Himalayas. Okay, well, it'll be good to keep in touch with you, maybe get you on when officially it's in the Guinness Book of Records, because that'll be a great thing both for you and particularly Spinal Cure and Surf Life Saving in WA. Thank you so much for your time and all the information you and Tanya have been sending out. It's been great to receive it, and again, well done. All right, so it's been an absolute pleasure, Peter, and thanks for helping spreading the word and getting it out there. Good luck. Steve Plain there, Project 7 in 4. Numeral 7 in numeral4.com is the website, and doing it for Surf Life Saving WA and also Spinal Cure. And great of Steve to join us.